This is Curtis Layton, Executive Director of Human Resources for Ponca City Public Schools. The purpose of this video is to provide guidance to PCPS employees in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Plans inform decision-making, but the most effective planning is subject to change as new information becomes available. It is essential that each employee checks district email, reads district press releases, and follows district guidelines as we move forward with this plan for reopening. COVID-19 presents unique challenges to opening the 2020-2021 school year. It is quite possible that throughout this year, we will have short-term disruptions in response to COVID-19. It is also quite likely that traditional roles and duties of staff will have to shift as a response to the pandemic to ensure that our students receive an equitable education. One of the things we are prepared to do is to continue to provide equitable learning opportunities in the case of a shutdown. At this time, the district is planning to begin school as planned last year. Work schedules will be posted on the Human Resources webpage. With the spread of the coronavirus, we are implementing safety protocols for both employees and students to help mitigate the spread of the virus. The district has developed general guidelines, and each site is developing a site-specific plan for reopening. The district has also incorporated 3 learning options for students. Details on these options can be found on the Curriculum Department's webpage. Additionally, preparations are being made district-wide on how we will respond in the case of another closure. In the event of a site closure or partial site closure, teachers and staff will need to be prepared to turn on a dime to offer virtual education and distance learning to students. Teachers will be trained on the use of Google Classroom, and students will need to be trained on how to access virtual resources on their device early in the school year. Each site is hiring site tech coaches to assist teachers in training and preparing for virtual instruction. Training on procedures and implementation will be ongoing for all staff. In the event of a school or site closure, support employees at that site will be notified by email by Human Resources where they are to report. If the employee is required to work remotely, duties will be established by the site principal in their site closure plan. Any employee who is needed to carry out essential functions may be required to report to work. All of this will be communicated via school email. It is important during this period to ensure that guidelines are followed and all employees can access their school email from home. The district also put together employee screening and safety measures to mitigate potential risks while at work and to reduce exposure and to provide as much protection as possible. One of our main goals is to ensure that you are safe while in the building. If you are exhibiting any of the following symptoms without any other explanation, you will be prohibited from coming to school and will need to apply sick leave. Cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, chills or repeated shaking with chills, loss of appetite, taste or smell, or a fever measuring over 100.4 degrees. We are also requiring employees to self-screen prior to coming to work. Employees will need to take their temperature at home prior to reporting to any site. Any employee with a measured temperature of 100.4 degrees or higher will need to stay home and apply sick leave. If you are unable to take your temperature at home, each site will have an infrared thermometer that can be used. The district has also established procedures for employees to follow in the case of an exposure to COVID-19. Any employee who has had known close contact with a person who is lab confirmed to have COVID-19, if that exposure has been within the last 14 days, will be quarantined and prohibited from coming to school for 14 days after the date of exposure. Close contact has been defined by the CDC and the Health Department as being within 6 feet of a lab-confirmed case for 15 consecutive minutes. The Health Department will most likely be involved in contact tracing for any employee who has been exposed. The employee will need to notify their supervisor and human resources, apply sick leave, and then they can also apply for emergency sick leave under the Families First Coronavirus Act. In this case, a negative test does not release the employee from quarantine or isolation. They'll need to serve the full quarantine of 14 days. Individuals who believe or know they had COVID-19 and have symptoms may not be around others until the following conditions have been met. 3 days without fever, without using a fever-reducing medication, and symptoms need to improve considerably, and 10 days needs to have passed since symptoms first appeared. It is recommended that after the 10-day period, the employee gets tested for a negative and waits for a negative result. In this case, the employee again would need to enter sick leave and can apply for emergency sick leave under the Family First Coronavirus Act. Individuals who have tested positive for COVID-19 but have no symptoms may not be around others until 10 days have passed since testing. And in this case, again, the employee will enter sick leave and can apply for emergency sick leave under the Family First Coronavirus Act. Guidance will be posted on the Human Resources website under our COVID-19 resources. To ensure that our staff is protected, we are providing 2 Wildcat cloth masks to each employee. It is highly recommended that these masks be worn at all times while in the buildings or around groups of students or other employees. We'll also be providing hand sanitizer and disinfectant to each site. Also, any employee can also request additional PPE. The district will provide a plastic face shield and gloves to any employee requesting it. You can request additional PPE by contacting Curtis Layton at 580-718-3845 or email laytoc@pcps.us. Practical and feasible social distancing strategies will be implemented at the site level. Employees are expected to follow the guidelines established at the sites. Some suggested general guidelines include: limit gathering in groups in common areas, such as the lounge. When in groups with other employees, when feasible, maintain a 6-foot distance. And wear a mask when moving throughout the building or when you are going to be around other people. It is important that during this pandemic, we protect ourselves and others. Complete CDC guidelines are available at the CDC website. I have also placed a summary of the CDC guidelines for protecting yourself and others on the Human Resources page under COVID-19 resources. We are asking every employee's help to help keep employee work areas and student work areas disinfected as often as possible. Cleaning supplies and materials will be provided. We are also suggesting that employees wear face coverings and social distance. More importantly, it is important that each employee monitors their health for the symptoms and signs related to COVID-19 and stay at home if they are not feeling well. In April, the Family First Coronavirus Act was passed by the Congress of the United States. In this act, there are 2 specific leave types that were granted to qualifying employees to help with the inconveniences caused by COVID-19. The two type leaves are emergency paid sick leave, which is up to a maximum of 10 days, and Emergency Family Medical Leave Expansion Act. If you are following a federal, state, or local quarantine or stay-at-home order, or you're quarantined by a healthcare provider, or you have COVID-19 symptoms and are seeking a diagnosis, you are eligible for up to 2 weeks or 80 hours of paid sick leave at your regular rate of pay. If you are caring for somebody who's under a local quarantine or stay-at-home order, or you must care for a child whose school or child care provider or place of care is unavailable due to COVID-19, you are eligible for up to 2 weeks of paid sick leave at 2/3 regular rate of pay. If you must care for your child whose school, child care provider, or place of care is unavailable due to COVID-19, and you've been employed for at least 30 calendar days, you are eligible for up to 10 additional weeks of family medical leave paid at 2/3 regular rate of pay. Keep in mind, it's important to note that all paid leave is capped at a specific maximum amount per worker. This is an example of a more comprehensive matrix that you can find on our webpage. This example is only a couple of the qualifying reasons for this leave, and you can find the complete leave summary on our website. As you can see, the reason for absence is listed on the far left column. So for example, if you're experiencing symptoms and seeking a diagnosis by a physician or being tested, you are eligible for emergency paid sick leave. But emergency family medical leave will not apply. The PCPS leave column tells you the kind of leave that you can use if your need exceeds the allotted leave. There's also a link on this matrix to the forms that you'll need to submit to Human Resources in order to qualify for this leave. The last column tells you the requirements that you need to return to work in the case that this leave is used. So if an employee is out for a COVID-related reason, here's the process for applying for these leaves. When the employee enters leave, they'll need to enter sick leave or personal business leave or vacation leave, whichever they want, and notify their supervisor. If you go to our website under forms, you'll find the COVID-19 emergency FMLA form that can be submitted. This form can also be submitted electronically through our records system. Records is the software that we use to electronically sign our contracts. So this can be done electronically without having to download any paper or without having to get papers back to HR. If the employee qualifies for any of the two above leaves, then HR will trade out the emergency leave for the sick leave and credit the sick leave back to the employee. On our webpage, there are several resources related to COVID-19. If you go to www.pcps.us under Departments, Human Resources, and COVID-19 Resources, you'll be able to find the following resources: the leave summary that explains the qualifying reasons for emergency paid sick leave and emergency FMLA, the forms that will need to be sent back to HR when applying for this leave. Again, remember that these can also be sent via records electronically and be submitted with an electronic signature. There's a return to work attestation form that may be required for you to return to work. It's basically stating that you're symptom-free and you've met the requirements to return to work. There's a lot more details on the Family First Coronavirus Act, and I will put a PDF of this presentation as well on the website for you to access. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to give our office a call. My direct line is 580-718-3845. My email address is laytoc@pcps.us. Give us a call if you have any questions, and have a great year.